In a time when stories were locked in the sky, one clever spider dared to...
When wisdom is hidden in the heavens, one small spider dares to climb.
Small in size, mighty in kind.
In the beginning, long before the world was shaped into what we know today, long before kingdoms rose and fell, the people of the Ashanti in Ghana would gather under the glow of the moon and whisper the same. Name Anansi. To some, he was a spider, small and fragile. To others, he was a man cunning and full of schemes. But to all, he was a trickster, a dealer of wisdom and foolishness alike, a creature who danced on the edge of fortune and downfall, spinning webs not only to catch flies, but to entangle the hearts and minds of gods, men, and beasts. The elders say that in those ancient days, stories did not belong to humanity. They were the treasures of Niam, the sky god, who guarded them jealously as if they were jewels hidden in the heavens. No tale was told around the fire without his permission. And so, the people lived in silence, hungry for the warmth of stories that could pass through their souls like food through the body. It was Anansi who dared to change this. Now Anansi, being small, was often overlooked by the mighty creatures. The leopards shook the trees. The elephant's tread flattened the earth, and the python's coils could strangle the strongest warrior. But Anansi had something none of them possessed, the mind of a trickster, a cleverness sharper than any tooth, quicker than any claw. He thought to himself, why should Niam keep the stories hidden in the sky? If I were to bring them down, every child, every elder, every man and woman would know my name forever. I would not only be Anansi the spider, I would be Anansi, the master of stories. So Anansi climbed high to the heavens, his 8 legs gripping the silken web he spun skyward. At last, he reached Niam, the sky god who looked upon him with amusement. Little Anansi, said Niam, his voice rolling like thunder across the firmament, what do you seek in my house of clouds? I have come for the stories. Anansi declared boldly, his tiny frame trembling yet determined. The people below are empty without them. Give me the tales, so that they may live in the mouths of mortals. Niam laughed. The sound shook the stars. You, a spider so small I could crush you with the tip of my finger. Very well. If you want my stories, bring me 3 impossible prizes. Only then will I hand them over. Bring me Onini the python, bring me Osebo the leopard, and bring me the mobro, the swarm of hornets. Only then will the stories be yours. The task would have crushed the bravest of hunters. Yet Anansi's eyes gleamed, for where strength fails, wit finds a path. He bowed, spun his web, and descended to the earth. First, he sought Onini the python. The serpent lay by the river bank, his great body stretching longer than the tallest palm tree. His eyes glowed like coals in the shadows. No man dared approach him, for his coils could crush a buffalo in moments. But Anansi came not with weapons, only with words. He carried a long branch and muttered loudly to himself, ensuring Onini could hear. It is said you are shorter than this branch, great python, but others claim you are longer. I do not know who is right. Perhaps it is only a foolish rumor, the python hissed, insulted. I am longer than any branch in this forest, he boomed. Then prove it, Anansi said slyly, placing the stick upon the ground. Stretch yourself beside it, so I may carry the truth to all. Onini stretched himself out proudly, but before he could move again, Anansi bound him with ropes, laughing. So long, so foolish, he whispered. And with the python tied and helpless, Anansi carried him to Niam. One task was done, but to remain. Next, Anansi saw Osebo the leopard, whose golden spotted coat flashed like fire through the tall grass. Osebo was fierce and swift, feared by all. But Anansi did not tremble. He dug a deep pit in the earth, covering it lightly with leaves and branches. Then he called out, "Osebo, Osebo, great hunter of the plains, come and catch me if you can." The leopard, enraged by the taunt, gave chase. He leapt forward, only to crash into the pit, roaring with fury. Anansi crept to the edge, feigning pity. "Ah, Osebo, what misfortune! Let me help you. I shall spin a web strong enough to lift you out." The leopard, desperate, agreed. But Anansi's web was not woven to rescue, it was woven to bind. Soon the mighty leopard was hanging, tangled and helpless. With a sly smile, Anansi dragged Osebo away to Nayam. 2 tasks complete, 1 remained. The final challenge was the most dangerous, the hornets, the Moboro, who stung with venom that burned like fire. But Anansi's cunning was boundless. He filled a gourd with water and poured it upon himself, pretending to be drenched in rain. He cut a hollow from a calabash and held it up like a shelter. Approaching the hornet's nest, he cried out, "Brothers, sisters, the rains are falling hard. Come quickly into this calabash, and you will be safe from the storm." The hornets, deceived, rushed into the gourd. Quick as lightning, Anansi sealed it shut with a stopper of leaves and resin. Their furious buzzing filled the air, but they were trapped. With a victorious grin, Anansi carried them to the heavens. When he laid the python, the leopard, and the hornets before Nayam, the sky god's laughter ceased. He leaned forward, eyes blazing with disbelief. "Little spider, you have done what no warrior could. You have brought me my own creatures, bound and defeated. You have earned what you asked for. From this day, the stories shall be yours, Anansi. You will be the keeper of tales, the trickster who turns weakness into strength." And so the stories fell from the heavens to the earth, carried in Anansi's webs, scattered into the mouths of people. From that day forward, the Ashanti people, and later the world, told tales of Anansi the spider, sometimes a hero, sometimes a fool, but always a reminder that wit, courage, and cunning can achieve what brute strength cannot. Yet this was not the end of Anansi's tricks. For once he tasted the sweetness of stories, he hungered for more mischief, more schemes, more victories and humiliations alike. And so the tales of Anansi multiplied, winding through the centuries, each one spun like silk from his endless web, drawing all who listened deeper into the mysteries of his clever world. There came a day when Anansi gazed upon the people and noticed how they struggled with knowledge. They tilled the fields without knowing which seeds bore the sweetest fruit, built homes that leaked in the rain, and argued endlessly over matters that could be solved with a single clever thought. Anansi's eyes glimmered. "If I can gather all wisdom, all knowledge, the people will look to me, and I shall be remembered forever," he whispered to himself. He found a great clay pot and began collecting wisdom from every corner of the earth. From the birds that knew the weather, from the elephants that remembered everything that happened in the forest, from the humans who had secrets hidden in their minds, Anansi took all he could carry and carefully tied the pot to his belly. He laughed at his own cleverness, imagining how proud the people would be when he revealed his treasure. But as he climbed the tallest tree in the forest to hide his pot from prying eyes, his young son Tikuma called out, "Father, why do you tie it to your belly?" Would it not be easier to carry on your back? Anansi's pride flared, and without thinking, he ignored the advice. The pot slipped and tumbled to the ground, shattering and scattering wisdom in every direction. Birds sang with new knowledge, rivers carried it far and wide, and humans found themselves suddenly able to learn things they had never imagined. Anansi scowled, but even in his failure, he laughed. For he knew the story of his blunder would itself become a story told across generations not long after. Anansi encountered Turtle, who moved slowly yet carried patience like armor. One day, Anansi prepared a fine meal of yam and fish. Turtle approached and politely asked to share it. Anansi, ever sly, demanded that Turtle wash his hands before eating, and so Turtle obeyed again and again, allowing Anansi to consume nearly all of the food himself. Turtle, however, remembered the insult. Later, Turtle invited Anansi to dine at his home under the river. Anansi greedy leapt in, but the currents and clever planning kept him bobbing helplessly on the surface while Turtle enjoyed the meal below. Again and again, Anansi tried and failed, realizing even a slow, patient guest could outwit him. Yet Anansi's ambition was boundless. He once set his eyes upon the sun and moon themselves. In those times, the sky held the celestial lights high above, keeping them from the people. Anansi thought, if I can capture their light, then surely I will be the greatest of all. He wove webs that stretched higher than any tree, higher than the tallest mountain, climbing toward the golden sun and silver moon. But webs trembled when burdened with pride, and as Anansi reached, the winds whispered warnings and shadows shifted in warning. At the very moment his hand almost touched the sun, he paused, realizing the world below waited to see what the cleverest creature could do next. For every triumph, there was a new challenge. Every victory, a twist. And as Anansi clung to the edge of glory, the people watched and listened, hungry for the next mischief, the next trick, the next clever plan spun from his endless web. And so Anansi's adventures continued. He would soon trick the sky itself, capture the laughter of children, and even outwit death in ways that left entire villages gasping. For in every shadow of the forest, in every rustle of leaves, in every whisper by the river, Anansi plotted his next tale, ready to teach, to fool, to inspire, and to astonish all who dared to follow his stories. The wind carried his name across the plains. Parents told their children, listen well, for the spider is clever, but he can always be outsmarted if you are patient, if you are clever, if you are brave. And children, wide-eyed, imagined themselves climbing trees, tricking leopards, or capturing the sun. Yet even as the people marveled, Anansi's mind raced. What is left to be done? He whispered. The world is full of foolishness, of pride, of greed, of laughter, of fear. Every creature has a secret weakness. Every story is waiting to be spun. If only I could catch them all one by one. And so the endless web of Anansi stretched further across forests and rivers, villages and cities. Night after night, his adventures grew taller, funnier, and more daring. Each tale intertwined with the last, creating a tapestry of cleverness, courage, and mischief so rich that even the stars lean closer to listen. Even now, when the wind rustles through the trees, it is said you can hear the faint laughter of Anansi, plotting his next great trick, ready to spin the next story that will mesmerize and teach, confound and delight. And the people lean closer, eager to follow, because they know that as long as Anansi moves, as long as his legs dance through the forest and his mind twists with cunning, there is always another tale waiting. And so, the tales of Anansi the spider remind us that cleverness can outwit strength, patience can match cunning, and even the smallest creature can leave a mark on the world. From stealing the stories from Nayam, to scattering wisdom in the pot, to being outwitted by turtle and daring to reach for the sun and moon, Anansi's adventures teach us that every trick, every lesson, every story carries meaning about patience, humility, and the endless dance between cleverness and folly. As we journeyed through these tales together, we've seen laughter, mischief, triumph, and even the humbling moments of failure. And though Anansi is a spider, his stories are larger than life, echoing in every forest, river, and village, and in every heart that dares to dream and think beyond the ordinary. Thank you so much for joining me on this adventure through the world of Anansi. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to like this video, leave a comment telling me which trick of Anansi was your favorite, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next incredible tale from the rich world of African folktales. Share this video with your friends and family, so together we can keep the laughter, lessons, and magic of Anansi alive for generations to come. And remember, every story is a thread in the endless web of imagination. And the next adventure is always just around the corner.